Okay, my name is Jeremy,
I'm Jill. I'm Hannah.
Not Anna.
and this is our class group presentation. So our first order of business is our design question. Now before I read this, I want to clarify how we got here first. So first we started identifying problems around campus. And one of the first ones that we identified was recycling. We chose recycling to be the focus of our presentation because it aligned with our personal passion to make DU a more eco-friendly and green campus. And so simply thereafter, we came up with the question, how can we clarify how to recycle and discard correctly in specific locations around campus? So in terms of a timeline, we first started interviewing and observing students' recycling habits in different dining locations around campus. After a week or two, we started to think about who we could partner with, different organizations, and we identified that the Center for Sustainability was the correct one to help us succeed in this project. After interviewing with them, we started brainstorming and gathering supplies for a shadow box. Shortly after, we decided to partner with Wow Cafe to be the dining location of our choice. We chose them because they had a lot of different resources that could be recycled, and we thought it would be more applicable to a wider audience. After that, it was smooth sailing, and we just had to assemble a shadow box for the recycling bin in their location. So I may portray this as a seamless process, but it's quite the contrary. We decided to use a 5-step process called the design thinking process. First being empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. Now I'm going to pass it on to Anna to explain the first step, empathizing.
We wanted to gain an understanding of the problem. So we wanted to better understand everyone's viewpoints about recycling. So we found out that most people did not know how to recycle or didn't have the time to think about what goes where. As we talked to other students, we discovered that they may know how to recycle, but they don't know how to recycle correctly or they just don't do it. And the students told us that they wanted to know more about recycling or wanted a process that was easier to understand. Through this observation, we were able to have a better understanding of the students and what their experience at dining halls. And we were able to gain a better understanding of the issue that was involved. And we were able to define it into kind of a 2-part process. One is people don't know how to correctly recycle, and 2, people don't want to put in the effort to recycle. And in the end, we defined it as one sentence. Students and staff at DU need a better recycling system that is easy to understand and to use.
Right. So now that we've defined the problem that we've seen on campus, the next step was to ideate. This essentially means brainstorming, and our group definitely did a lot of that. Throughout multiple class periods and our time in the innovation lab, we bounced ideas off of each other, built on those ideas, and repeated. Eventually, we came up with some ideas that we were really interested in. Those included magnets on dorm refrigerators that have lists of items that are common around campus and how to dispose of them, as well as flyers in dining halls that explain how to dispose of packaging properly, and maybe updated outdoor waste receptacles. However, the solution that we came up with that we liked the most were location-specific signs that showed you how to dispose of specific products in the dining halls around campus. As well as this, we had to think about which dining halls it would make the most sense to have this in, and we determined that Wow Cafe had the most packaging that may be disposed of improperly. So after we've come up with lots of ideas and started to narrow them down to the ones we're most interested in, the next step is prototyping. This essentially means creating several different drafts for our solution, and this could have included different types of signs or perhaps creating cheap solutions for our other options. However, because this was kind of a constrained amount of time, we had to speed this process up, and we ended up with 2 different kinds of signs. One included images of the specific packaging on compost, landfill, and recycling signs, and the other was an actual shadow box that had the packaging inside of it. After talking to the Center for Sustainability, we decided that it would be most effective to have the actual packaging directly in front of you and kind of in your face so that you could see it while you were disposing of your waste. And While we were going through this process, we noticed that something similar already existed in Nagel. So we decided to kind of go off of this and translate it to something that would be effective for Wow Cafe.
And this is what we came up with. Once we gathered all of the recyclable materials from Wow Cafe and gathered our shadow box and the other materials needed to create the replica, we got crafty. It took a while to organize the items in a way that was aesthetically pleasing and would be helpful to the Wow Cafe customers. But after a while of cutting materials in half and organizing them nicely, this was what we came up with, and as you can see, it was right there also. And rather than debating on whether our final product would work or just assuming that it would, the fifth step in the design thinking process is to actually test it, to take action. For this, we decided that actually observing people as they throw out their trash would be the best way to do it. So we would watch people in Wow Cafe and see what materials they have in their hands that they put into each bin, and we would watch whether they put recyclable materials into the landfill bins. And once we give our product to the Center of Sustainability and they put it up, we'll continue the test and watch whether, if as people walk up to the trash bins, they actually look at our product to see if it's in an efficient spot, and then also whether it makes them look at their items and throw them in the correct bins. And so once we gather these numbers, we'll compare them together and see if and test our product. Thanks for listening.